Su Qing's novel Beauty on the Crossroad. Original text 15. Give me my freedom. Mr. Du suddenly asked me, "What do you think of Xi Yalan?" After asking, he said to me strangely, "He looks very beautiful." I felt flustered for some reason, so I just lowered my head and replied, I think he's pretty smart." "What kind of cleverness?" Mr. Du sneered and said, "Young people like them are comfortable and want to enjoy themselves. They always have a sense of luck and hope to get something for nothing. In fact, what will they get? They are not fools. For example, if you are a supervisor, or do you want to use someone who works sincerely? Or do you want to use people like Xi Yalan? They have no real skills except for being able to trick people, but they still have to be good and are afraid of being taken advantage of. Haha, as long as you have something to use, why don't you let others use it? If you are locked up in your room and refuse to be used by others, they won't be able to kill pigs like you. If you slaughter it, you will eat pigs with hair. But what do? Do you want food to fall from the sky? Human beings use each other, to put it nicely. And of course they think they are smarter. People hope to get the maximum price with the least labor. But if everyone thinks so, the opportunities for competition will be reduced. Otherwise, although the work is harder and the reward is less, there will be more opportunities in society. While he was complaining about being unemployed, he was also complaining that professionals were rare and had no chance of developing their careers. In Xi Yalan's heart, it was best if he didn't have to do anything for me, so I would obediently take care of this mansion, dedicated to him. But let me ask, am I, a plague student? I have to give the mansion to you today as a favor, so I can't let you laugh at me and be fooled by this. The frivolous young man is simply a liar. He has bad intentions and no means, so he can only coax you women and children. I have told my young master to ignore him. What do you think? I had nothing to say, but in my heart I felt that These words were unfair, but I couldn't defend Xi Yalan. Mr. Du told me about himself again. It is said that he came from a hard-working background and developed rapidly. I never know what kind of job I can ask someone to find. Because I am willing to work hard, my boss will not let me go. He touched his chin and said proudly, "Later, I became a supervisor myself, which was pretty good. I am able to take into account the interests of my friends, be considerate of others, and respond to others' needs, so my subordinates are very loyal to me, and I am grateful to them. I don't know what to say. If you just echo a few perfunctory words, and you are afraid of being suspected of flattering, it is better not to say anything." Mr. Du looked at me and smiled and said, "Don't be embarrassed. I just like your innocence. You are honest in everything you say and do. In fact, this is smart. Miss Zhang, let me tell you something. Wealth cannot be forced. When the time comes, people will naturally come." I think this probably refers to himself. But what about me? There is some hope in thinking, but also some fear. The human heart is the most snobbish thing, because Mr. Du is a proud figure in today's society. Of course, his words are more reliable, so I will continue to work as a tutor honestly and not take advantage of them. What's more, there are such smart people. If people like Xi Yalan want to rely on them, won't they see through it in the end, so they still get nothing? Alas, let's just mix it up and eat it honestly. But I also saw other guests coming to his house. Didn't they also come with the intention of taking advantage of them? Although there are many people coming, the types seem to be of a certain type. That is, apart from good goods and profit, there are no other noble purposes and interests. They seem to be indispensable to Du Mansion, and Du Mansion seems to be indispensable to them. What is the reason for this? Could it be that Mr. Du couldn't see their purpose? Once I boldly said this to Mr. Du, and it seemed that I wanted to be loyal and seek credit, so I regretted it after I said it. Mr. Du smiled and said, "This situation is very complicated, and you won't understand it. When a person works in society, he can't break away from contact with various other people in society. Do you think that everyone who comes here is my friend? No. That's very few. As the saying goes, there are only a few close friends in the world. There may be some of my enemies among them, but when we meet, We always have to greet each other with a smile. On the other hand, we are fighting for our own interests or guarding against others. That is to say, my subordinates, of course, not all of them, they are all good people. But the scope of my business is too large to be taken care of by myself. I cannot do without people. And if I do employ people, I cannot be too harsh on them. As long as a mortal has a skill, I will appreciate him. I also tolerate their shortcomings. I have many shortcomings, such as being too emotional. Alas, I often suffer from such things. Although, this society is too complicated, so I'm not saying this in reverse. It's actually better for you young women to marry and be wives, and you don't have to hang out in it to find a career, he said and laughed again. I feel like there is nothing to say. In fact, it's not that I don't know that the pain of modern working women is twofold, but you should also have a chance to get married. A person who gets along with others often gets along everywhere. A person who doesn't get along with others seems to get along everywhere. Look, Miss Wang has nothing in the Du mansion, right? But she seems to be living a very comfortable life, eating when she has something to eat, wearing clothes when she has something to wear, and playing cards when she has something to play. Even if Mr. Du doesn't pay much attention to her, or Mrs. Du gives her a bad look, she only cares about it. After a moment of unpleasantness, everything is business as usual. And he was a tutor in his position, and it was stated that he would provide board, lodging, and salary, and that his family would not be used in vain. However, he always felt uneasy in his heart, as if an animal in the water had suddenly been brought to dry land. He was not used to anything. What's worse is that my uneasiness was immediately discovered by others. So some people thought that I didn't know how to appreciate others, some thought that I was proud, and some thought that I was deliberately putting on an act in the hope of getting more. Since Shi Yalan stopped coming to Du mansion and Mr. Du had chatted with me several times, everyone seemed to be even more uneasy towards me. There is something strange about my eyes. Even if I am sitting among them with my eyes closed, I can still feel the tension and discomfort in the air here. Miss Wang said to me coldly, "You shouldn't be lonely now, Mr. Du, and you are talking very speculatively. Originally, we are all unlearned people." After she finished speaking, a young woman in colorful clothes pulled her to listen to the opera and said, "Stop talking anymore. Let's go to the opera." Fortunately, people without knowledge can still live. Mr. Du and the wife is waiting for you there. Miss Du also left, but they didn't take me with them. I don't like listening to plays, but I feel an indescribable sadness in my heart about being left out. Since I can't live well with them, why not leave them? Wild flowers will only bloom in the wasteland, where you can grow with the delicate peonies among the rich bushes on the railings. Walk! I need to get out of here. But what about life problems? They seem to come back very late after going to the theater, and they seem to talk for a long time after they came back. Somehow, I always felt that their voices were not as cheerful as before, and they talked in a very low voice, as if they were discussing something bad, something like that. On the first day, Miss Wang came to see me. I reluctantly greeted her and asked her to sit down. She glanced at me maliciously and said with a smile, "You are wearing a black cheongsam today. How beautiful you are." I lowered my head in embarrassment. She coughed and said, "Let's stop teasing and tell the truth. Mr. Du invites you to go." I didn't believe her words and just sat there. She smiled and said, "Don't you believe it? They really asked me to invite you over." Mrs. Du was also there, so I followed her. Mrs. Du seemed to be particularly polite. She asked me to sit down and touched my hand to ask if I was dressed enough. Mr. Du sat beside him silently. After a while, Mrs. Du asked him to leave. I was confused and wanted to leave, but Mr. Du stopped me. "What is he going to talk to me about? I am afraid." He frowned and said, "Our lady is going to board in school. The environment here is too bad to study quietly. We think it is a pity that a talent like you can't hang around without a chance. Do you like it? I can't introduce you to any profession." I suddenly felt blushing. It was him who actually said goodbye to me. No wonder Miss Wang looked proud just now, and Mrs. Du also had an unusual look on her face. Did I do something wrong? Did you say something wrong? I felt embarrassed for a while. He seemed to know what I meant, and comforted him softly. Don't worry too much, you are doing well here. In fact, even if we don't teach our young lady how to read, we would still like you to live here as one of our own. But he couldn't continue for a long time. And then he spoke the truth. I'll tell you the truth, these women are always overly caring. They are all vulgar and can't understand you. Miss Zhang Xiaomei, I know who you are. He took out a check, put it gently in my hand, and said, take this first and use it. For example, you can buy this house first, and my wife may have something else to give you later, but you don't need to mention this to her. I find it more insulting. Why should I take his money? Being unemployed means being unemployed. Will I starve to death? But I don't know what they misunderstood about me. Is it my fault that I didn't talk to Mr. Du several times? This is what he came to talk to me about, and it's not like I went to talk to him first. What's more, the talks were all about Xi Yalan and what a person should be like, etc., which were irrelevant. When I thought of this, I saw Mr. Du standing up. He seemed a little sorry for me. He just looked away and said, don't think too much. Just do as I say and arrange your life first. I will always take care of you. I am leaving, like a wounded bird suddenly leaving its cage. Although it is free, it still feels more melancholy and confused.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.